Right, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, can I welcome you to this August meeting of the Town Council? So do we have any apologies?
Yes, I've got apologies from Councillor Wildman and Councillor Howarth.
Thank you. Item 3, declaration of interests. Do we have anything on the agenda? No? Right, well, we'll look at the minutes of the last meeting. Is there any comments or corrections on those minutes? Anyone? No? Well, can I have a proposer? Can I have a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 5 is Clerk's update, so I'll pass over to Gina now.
Yeah, so they're just some there is still ongoing. So unblocking the recesses on the first floor corridor, we're still investigating. Phone boxes, we're still monitoring. Number 2 Albert Road, we have today had the amended plans and heritage statement. So we've just signed that off and that will be sent to the planning department. So that's on with that. The Colne mayoral position still under investigation. The SPIDs have been brought back in and they are being recharged in the basement. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to pull the data off yet because we've been so busy with the blues. So, but as soon as we get a chance, we will do that. Colne Gala, the matting that was spoke about that the committee had isn't the same matting that we were looking at, and it's not. It won't work for what we need it basically. So we've been looking on eBay and various auction sites. There were a few sales that came up, but we weren't successful in getting them. So we will just continue to monitor that to see if we can get some, and obviously before next June. So the backlighting of stained glass, we have,
Yeah.
Yes, so we have now got that on a switch outside the door that we can just turn on and off when we want.
Yeah. We saw it the other day when we came round with Jeff Bramby. Yeah. It does. Yes.
So we have
sorry, can I ask what the cost was for that?
Was it about about 4,000 all in all?
How much?
Yeah. About £4,000 to do. But now it's in.
I will add that is the electrical works
as well. Yeah, that's
reinforcing the walkways because they were knackered. As in you stood on them and they dipped, and then all the materials as well.
They did all have to be cleaned as well. So, yeah. So we have the visit to the CCTV hub at Blackburn. That's booked for Thursday, the 29th of August, 10:30 a.m. Obviously, I had a list of people that were going on that. So I've got Councillor Bell, Councillor David Clegg, Councillor Glenda Clegg, Patricia Hannah Wood, Councillor Lord. You can't go now. Okay, then I've got Howard Thomas and Mary Thomas.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that wants to go on that and can go on that trip? Yeah. Okay. Okay, we've also got the visit to the Lancashire Archives, which has been booked for Thursday, the 12th of September at 10 a.m. I've only got a few names for that at the moment. So I've got Sarah Coburn Price, Dorothy, I've got you down for that. Councillor Alice Mann, and yeah, are you are able to go to that? You're not away or anything?
No.
Thought you might be. Right. Is there anyone else that
Your
wants?
birthday though.
Oh, is it your birthday? It's in Preston. Okay, yeah, if you can. Obviously, if there's quite a few of us, we'll probably look at booking a minibus or something like that to take us. So, Glenda, I don't know if you looked at that. Are you wanting to go to that? All right. Okay, so if anyone else does want to go to that, if you can just send me an email. Okay. Okay, I did send an email about a LALC conference as well. I don't know if anybody is interested in that. It is a Saturday. So, but lunch is included in the ticket. It would be £35 per ticket. So if anybody does want to go to that, if you can let me know. Just reply to the email that I sent through.
No.
That's Saturday, the 7th of September. And it's from 9:30 till 3:30 at the Delta Marriott Hotel in Preston.
Anybody, any questions? Thank you.
It's the LALC it's the Lancashire
No.
Association of Local Councils. Oh, the peak
Yeah.
that's it's internal auditing. Thank you.
And a quick question from me is, when do you pass the final exam then? When does that come?
For the no, that's done. It's
the
just the
whole-
Silca that I'm still working on.
When's that then?
Well, I've got 6 more training sessions.
Okay.
But I have to have it completed before May next year.
Or May next year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Gina. Item 6 is public forum. Well, we don't have any public here. So item 7 is report from the Borough and County Council. But Ash has said that there's no update really, nothing happening. So he's not got anything to say. So if we go on to the Borough, if we can have just the headlines, please, about things that are happening in Colne from because I was on holiday at the last
You've
Colne
missed a lot,
Airport.
Mary. There's so much going on. We've got a long list. We'll be quick.
Go on, you kick off then.
No,
All right.
you left me with the leavings.
Okay, so just got if you go back to the minutes from last time, we had a couple of significant ones that the town council commented on. One of which was all the stuff happening at the EG garage site. So there were actually 2 applications. One was the Starbucks stuff, and the other one was the main body of it and all the extra signage and everything. So what we said at Care Area on that one is that we wanted to defer it because we wanted to understand properly about long-range views. So as you come along the motorway, do you see? As you look at it from the town, what do you see, etc.
Cumulative impact.
And we also, because obviously the neighbourhood plan's got lots of stuff about long-range views and significant views and protecting them, etc. The other one we wanted to ask the applicant to consider was turning the lights down a bit. Because obviously there are certain luminance, and what that means is that essentially they're going to be the same brightness during the daytime and the night time. We're saying, well, it'll stand out more in the night time, so you don't need it as bright, do you? So some sort of turning it down at night might help with the Greenfield Nature Reserve next door. We were restricted, of course, because advertising consent, which is what these are, have a very limited range of things you can actually object to. So the other one was down the bottom of the page there, which was 1 Brunswick Drive with a 2.5 metre timber boundary fence. That was refused. So that was an easy one. In terms of other things, we'll come on to the local plan and the working group updates on housing numbers, etc. when we talk about the neighbourhood plan in item 14. Another initiative we've got is on vacant homes. So we've started to do stuff on abandoned vehicles. I know we've mentioned that one before. Now we're looking at vacant homes. There are lots of reasons why homes are vacant. It could be they're just between owners. It could be there's a probate thing. It could be they've abandoned them. And so what we want to do, there are over 200 houses in Cone area which are empty for various reasons, and they fall between the gaps in terms of things like council tax and whatever. Getting the council to match up between those empty houses and the section 215s, the enforcement notices for improvements, is something that the council's got 2 different databases on. So we're trying to bring that together.
And they never thought of doing that.
Yeah. And what that'll do is, if you've got a street anywhere that's got an empty house, it's clearly potentially a blight, antisocial behaviour, vandalism, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, we want to try to prioritise that list of 200 or so. So if you see any on streets that are in your wards or in your daily walks or whatever, then please flag them as being the sort of ones that can be a priority to try and improve and address, etc. Previously, Pendle Council seemed to have a policy of doing compulsory purchases if necessary, but they only ever did them on Nelson houses. And we said in Cone there are houses that have been empty for 10, 20 years or so. So, you know, we should start to get our fair share of the cake. So that's vacant homes. The other one we had was Brisk.
Oh, yeah.
Brisk, the telegraph poles. So this is the company that's rolling out the broadband across the whole town. They have permitted development rights to do whatever they want, wherever they want. But the idea is that they should do it using the BT Openreach infrastructure, predominantly underground where possible. We get the feeling they're being a little bit lazy in terms of some of the testing they do, in terms of checking whether those underground routes are okay. A number of residents are starting to complain about the prospect of telegraph poles in their streets as well, saying, we haven't got them now, why are we doing such a retrograde step, etc. Can you please do some more work on this? So there's a few people sort of complaining to Brisk. Don't tend to get very good answers from them, I have to say. So we're continuing to lobby them as well, just to say, look, do your best. If you don't want people turning against you to never, ever upgrade to your system, then you need to sort of play fair by residents.
Tell them about Stanroy Drive and
Yeah, I mean, there are various streets where some residents are gathering together and say, you say you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 telegraph poles in our street. We don't want those because we haven't got them now. Sometimes they even have old conveyancing contracts which say thou shalt not put overhead wires of any kind. So people are quoting that back to them and saying, well, you shouldn't be able to do this. So there's a lot of people complaining about that. As I say, it's almost like a goodwill thing though, because they do have permitted development rights under the various Telecommunications Acts, etc. So,
but they have stepped back from one street.
Yes, we'll see what they can do with it. Final one from me, conservation areas. We're coming to a finish on the new Keithley Road, Carry Lane conservation area. So the report's written on that one. That'll go to be approved soon. And then we're going to carry on updating our conservation area appraisals. The guidance is you should do them every 5 years or so. Some of the ones in Pendle are 20 years old and therefore, in a sense, not worth the paper they're written on.
Albert Road's 40 years old.
So therefore, coming and doing an upgrade on these ones. We're looking at the Lidget and Bents one, and we're looking at the Albert Road one next. So they're the ones to upgrade next. Your turn.
So we all were horrified a bit ago when outside the parish church there was a load of tarmac, and now that's been restored. And we had found a very good craftsman, don't know what he is,
Painter.
handyman in Chawden. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but we've had the barriers for car parks painted, and we'd had some peripheral outside the centre of the town, bollards painted black and white. So with the stonework being restored outside the church, I hope you've noticed, those of you that have walked about, all those bollards have been restored now, so they're beautiful and black and gold. And we've actually had really positive comments. So I'm going to prevail, I don't know how successful I'll be, Pearl, to do the ones by the market before the market reopens in spring 2025. So that leaves 2 more patches, and there are an awful lot of them in the town centre. There's these ones outside the town hall, and there's the ones by Windy Bank, about Coffee, Ash's shop. There's quite a lot there. There are an awful lot of them. So I think that it's possible that we could do a couple more batches at Colne Area Committee, whether we do them all this year or not. But it struck me that when the watering is over in the winter time, we have lengthsmen who've done a splendid, splendid job on the benches. So I'd like to request for us to consider whether they could do the ones by the town hall. And then we've got 2 beautiful bollard oases in the town, and we'll join up between them by hook or by crook, because I really think that the ones outside the church have made a huge difference. What else am I talking about? Oh yes, King George. So King George V playing field, I've mentioned this before, that it's in this nebulous position, whether it's neither a sports field nor a park. I've had a chat with Phil Riley, and he has now just got the results of a big report showing all the demands for playing fields, matches and so forth in Pendle. So he is going to write a report so that we know whether it's going to be something or whether it's needed for playing field use. I don't know whether it was here, but Ash said that he's been approached by Pendle Hockey Club. Pendle something? Yeah. And apparently they're sort of prize-winning hockey people, but they have to not play hockey here because there's nowhere for them to play hockey. So it could be a thing that we could perhaps get a grant for that, for them to have a home pitch, in which case that's a possibility. It's something that we could look into as a minimum.
Is this
But-
women?
I don't know.
I think it's women.
Is it?
What is the one at Barrowford, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was women. It's the women that have the really good.
Right. Yeah. We just need to find the best solution, don't we? And we're just trying to do our best. Huh? Oh, wow.
Well,
Yeah. Is this on this item? Councillor Bell.
Yeah, last year when I was going round to, before we got voted onto the town council, I was going round and actually met a lady who plays for the hockey team from Colne. And she was asking about a pitch in Colne because they haven't travel around. And I suggested, well, behind the leisure centre, you've got all them all-weather pitches. Why can't Leisure Trust get one of them up to standard? And I got nowhere with it at all. But you've got the pitches behind where the BMW garage is. You've got an all-weather pitch there that's just going to rack and ruin. So the last time I saw it down there, there was rubble on there, people walking their dogs. But if there's an all-weather pitch, if they need one, then surely the Pendle Leisure Trust under.
Is that not going to be where the skate park is?
Yeah.
What's happening with that? Because
Well, don't not going.
I'm just saying it was mentioned last year trying to do something for them.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. On the playing fields, George V, a lot of people don't realise this. They are a protected playing field. And I've actually checked into it, and the designation states that it must be used for the playing of sports and games. That was the reason why it was set up. So there should be no problem in actually using it. That's what it was for. It's not just a green space or an open field. It is a designated playing field under law.
Thank you. Councillor Lord.
Yeah, from your comment, your the lighting at Waddle Drive. Oh, sorry. That you're talking about. What about Boundary Mill and their lighting? I mean, when that plan application came in, that was one of our big concerns about the lighting, and so we asked the same question: can it be dimmed at night? Now, I'm not sure whether it is dimmed at night. You people that drive off the end of the motorway,
Yeah.
is it?
It is. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. But when they're on, they're full on, and there's so many of them. So I don't know. Would that make a lot of difference with these? The garage lights? I don't know.
Not
You
during the
know
day.
what I mean?
No.
So the BRSK, the same as all. I've had quite a few comments about it and emails sent, and 3 results where they've challenged them and they've not moved them, but they said, right, well, we'll put the pole there, we'll put it across the road or whatever. So that's happened in 3 areas. So that's not bad, but it's not brilliant. The bollards, they were painted about 15 years ago, every single one of them throughout Colne, with the, what do they call them? Derek Gascoigne's team, EAG, the Environmental Action Group, which we don't have anymore. And they were fabulous. But the ones outside here, I remember they were so rusted. There was holes in them, you know, so they'd be patched up and that. So it's quite a long time since they were painted, and they do look good. Yeah. Benches. When you mentioned the market, behind those hoardings, there's 2 of our benches, and really, I think they should be out and on the street somewhere.
That's the old market. There's now boarded up.
Yeah.
So there's 2 behind there.
Yeah. You know, each
Yeah,
side
I
of the
know,
glass
yeah,
house.
yeah.
The glass there.
Yeah. Well, I think they're still there. Well, I'm sure they are. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not finished yet. So, we're having reports from the borough councillors, and those are my concerns. I'll shut up then. Okay.
No,
I think that's it. No,
I
that's
think
it.
that's a really good point, Dorothy, and I'm sure that we can rescue them from inside
I think they
and
should
ask for them to be
rescued.
repositioned.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm finished now.
right. Item 8 is finances. That's first paper 8A. Any questions on the long list of expenditure? Right, okay. Right, all those in favour? 8B is the budget. Any questions on the budget? Yes.
Just had one question. Obviously, I note that we've spent quite a bit on benches and bus shelters in the first few months of the year. So
Noticeably.
it's good that we've done that and taken advantage of the good weather. So we're on track and okay for budget for the rest of the year.
Yeah, all the grounds maintenance purchase orders are in for the rest of the year, so that's already taken account of, which is obviously why some of them are at 90% or whatever. But yeah, obviously we have spent quite a bit on. Well, actually, we haven't spent that much on the benches that the lensmen have done, and they have done a really good job.
Yeah.
So
Okay. No, I'm happy with that. I'll move that.
A seconder for the budget. Thank you, Councillor Thomas. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 9, it's Gibb Hill Nature Reserve Friends Group meeting.
Right,
Is that you, Gina?
I did send an email out. However, So it was down this meeting for the 12th of September. However, Jane Watson has since sent an email round saying that this clashes with councillor training that's already been scheduled, which can't be rescheduled because it's an outside company that's coming in to do it. So she's asked if Chris can propose a different date for the Gib Hill meeting. So it is likely that this meeting will change.
Not just for information, isn't it? Yeah. Can we move on to?
If I may,
Yeah.
I was quite annoyed that they were having it in Nelson, and I made a little remark about it because, of course, more than half of Gib Hill is in Combe, and I could be being partisan, but I feel that we've probably got the best and keenest volunteering community. So if they want to get the best response, having it in Nelson's a bit. They should at least try to replicate it, in my view. Perhaps they should hold it in Primet at the Prestige Karting. That would be fair. But I think that we, as a town council, should perhaps do something on social media to promote whenever the new meeting is, and to try to gee up our people who want to be part of this nature reserve, because it is really, really important. I mean, in terms of biodiversity net gain, it's centred all of Pendle's biodiversity net gain. They're sort of mainly looking at Gib Hill. So if we didn't have Gib Hill as a nature reserve, biodiversity net gain in Pendle might well be going into some other place entirely.
Okay. Item 10, it's Beat the Streets, and we need to revisit the decision made in February 2024 regarding funding this community game in Pendle. Right. A discussion about this? Yes, Sarah.
I saw this on the agenda, and I could be shot down here, but I felt quite cross. I felt quite cross because I'd just seen on social media that they're going ahead with it anyway. And normally, when we fund anything, it's not when it's already happened, it's before it happened. And we discussed, didn't we, as a group, that it wouldn't be fair for Combe to have a major share in this if the villages weren't paying too. We did discuss it. And I think the big hole in it for me, because I'm really pro the idea of it, I'm really pro the idea of families getting out and being active and exploring their town together. But I suppose the hole is all of this money only buys 1 year. And that's the big hole. If it bought you the resources so that, you know, like a game of Monopoly, you could get it out of the cupboard and do it again, I'd go, yeah, and let's pay loads for it because it's a wonderful thing. It's an annual thing, like, you know, so many things. But this is just for 1 year and it's an awful lot of money. That's my view.
Yes, I've got Alice and then Patricia.
I tried to find some information about this. I wanted a map to see which areas were included because it's supposed to link up the green spaces. And I just wondered which green spaces were going to be linked up. I couldn't find, I am on the app now, I managed to get on the app, but I couldn't find any real information about it. It came up to say that it was going to be launched, and that was my problem. If anybody knows which green spaces are going to be interlinked, then that would be wonderful. But at the moment, I would like to say we ought to readdress this situation of how much we're going to be paying.
Thank you. Patricia?
Thank you, Chair. I've spoken to a few people in Burnley who're supposed to have been involved in this. They weren't keen. They're not keen. I'm coming to you, Sarah, the cost of it for 1 year. Extortionate. Yes, it's good for at the time. And it's good exercise, it's good fun. But you've got to, if you want to carry it on year after year, it's the same amount or increments higher. So
what are we actually getting from it? I don't think so.
I've got Andy Bell, and then I've got Howard, and then I've got David, and then I've got Ian. So Andy.
Yeah,
were the
I'm
next.
just going to reiterate what Councillor Sarah said was when they came at the beginning of the year, which was just after we've set the budget, we said it was going to be a tight fit then. And like you say, it just seems to be the bit of the meeting. It was speak to Trawden, speak to Cliviger, speak to the areas. And it just seems, like you say, it's at the moment, it just seems to have gone ahead. But the only thing I've seen is it's been a big success in Burnley. We're doing it here. But for the lifestyle manager, Pendle Leisure Trust, it just seems like Sarah said, there seems to be a disparity on levels of funding from each different area, and how will it affect? And I agree with Councillor Alice as well. I think we need to revisit this because I think financially, is it viable? And that's a big question.
Thank you. Ian?
Thank you, Chair. It's one of these where it looks good in principle, but there's too many questions on the financial viability of it, etc. What I would suggest and possibly propose is that we need a meeting. I know it's pushing it a bit on time, but we really do need a meeting with them. It's okay discussing it here amongst ourselves and going online, but we need a face-to-face meeting with these organisers and basically pinning them in a corner saying, right, okay, you want all this money off us. What are we getting in return?
Thank you. Gina, can you update?
If I can just explain why this has come back to this meeting. When we discussed it before, the decision that we made was that I think they originally asked for £5,000, and we'd said that we would give 3 on the condition that the other parishes would fund the remaining 2. So they actually sent me an invoice. So I said, have we got confirmation that the parishes are funding the other 2,000? I didn't get anything. And Alison Good actually rang me because the manager that was actually left under a cloud, apparently. So but they were trying to go through everything and trying to figure out sort of where they were at with it. I obviously said, well, that was the decision that was made. So I said we can revisit it in 6 months. So that's why it's come to this meeting. So I said that I would look at asking again. So I think they're asking if we will consider still funding the 3,000, but without the confirmation of the neighbouring parishes.
So obviously David and I go to the neighbouring parish meetings and they're not funding it. And I think that was what they have been. Yes, Trawden definitely has. Lancashire Bridge, yeah. So they have been asked. The chap didn't come and speak at their meetings, but they understood about it only being used, that all this money was just for this one hurrah, and therefore it would become a serial drain. So they're not funding it. And I feel that our decision last time was quite clear, wasn't it?
Howard?
Yes, Chair. It's either Pendle wide or it's not really going anywhere. Although according to their website, which I've just looked at, it's starting in 28 days, so many hours. I didn't write all the rest down. But also on Beat the Streets website, there are, unless there is a hidden page somewhere that I can't see on my tablet, there are only 8 places actually undertaking this now. One in East Kilbride, and the rest appear to be, South Derbyshire. Well, with the exception of South Derbyshire and Pendle on there, all the rest appear to be in the south: Reading, Wokingham, Edmonton, Cinderford, which I'm not really sure where it is, but Pardon? Well, so that's south, and Malden, which is our country. I think the fact that the last person left under a cloud, I assume that's the Beat the Street person.
It was the person that came to speak
Going
to
to
us
speak
last
to
time.
us, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wonder how it should be sustainable. And as far as I can see, looking at it, all it is a little box that you tap into. So if it was you got the boxes and they just came back for a minimal fee, rather like the Spiz, you can move them around. So you can have the track through Colne this week, or longer than that. Then it's in Trawden or wherever. That's worth an investment, but David not so much whispered, said he thinks that the original cost was 90,000. So if we're talking of money of that ilk, to be left with for almost a literal flash in the pan, it's just not worth it. And I've not heard anybody in Burnley raving about it either.
Councillor Moffat.
So I watched the Beat the Street video for Burnley, and these boxes, they seem to be attached to lampposts, but he was also talking about every child in the school getting one of these cards. You get a card to swipe it, and £3,000, it's not going to go very far, and that's going to be an ongoing thing. So
Are we saying that for a number of reasons we are sort of looking again at our decision? Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Reaffirm our last decision.
But so are we assuming then that, given that there's some publicity about it, are we assuming that Pendle Leisure Trust have signed up to do this for £90,000, and they're obviously trying to get a few thousand from various councils? So if we just say no, which is what we're heading towards, I think, then Pendle Leisure Trust is stuck with the bill and the thing goes ahead anyway. Is that right?
I thought Pendle Leisure Trust didn't have much money.
Well, no, it doesn't.
I've not heard anything about. I don't know. Yes, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, it's looking at this on here where they say you get an hour from between 2 points, you get 10 points. If you're longer than an hour, you get nothing. It's great for under 11s and you've got parents if they're working or whatever reason. But then you're saying over 12 year plus, you've got to go yourself. But like they said at the time, it's a very high amount of money. And like I said, it's just data for them to say how many 11-year-olds actually went A to B or how many over. It's, I don't think personally, it's not value for money.
Councillor Lord. Oh yeah, sorry. I must have missed you, David.
Thank you,
And
Chair.
then Councillor Lord.
I think we've got to get back to what the original decision is, what we've got to make tonight. The only thing that's different to what it was 6 months ago, because it's come back at 6 months through, and it is just 6 months by the exact date, actually. It's just 6 months. Is the difference is the villagers are not contributing their 2,000, which was a condition of us putting the 3,000 in. So I think really the decision we've got to make tonight, and it's the only decision, is do we carry on and pay the 3,000, or do we say, no, you haven't met the agreement, we don't pay anything? And I think that's the decision we've got to make now. And then that's the item done and dusted with. But can I just say, Chairman, all this has come about when it's a borough-wide thing, is when things start getting split up and different areas are contributing, and parishes and town councils are all contributing from their precept, and it's going together in one central pot. That's what happens when you do that, rather than using a central pot like via Pendle, is because some places pay for it, and some places don't, and it's totally not fair. And I've said this all along, and I don't know the answer to it, but that is the problem, because the payments for it are not coming from a central pot. They're coming from a bit from here and a bit from there. And some of the places are the more affluent places are not contributing to it, and it's totally out of order.
Okay. Councillor Lord.
Yeah, I agree with what David's saying. I think everybody needs to be in agreement. Otherwise, there's going to be so many arguments and disputes about it. I'll be honest, I haven't read much about this, but I just want to ask about this. Join us from the 18th of September until the 30th of October. What are the hours of this? Is this in school time? Is it? I don't know. What?
You do it in your own time.
You do it your own time. Yeah. It seems.
But you're not forced to do it.
It seems a bit disjointed to me. I don't know. I might be wrong. Thank you.
Ian. I've got Ian, Sarah, and then Andy.
Thank you, Chair. Could I, having heard all the information, etc., this is a bit controversial, but could I propose that because the conditions of the decision at the last meeting have not been met, that we do not contribute towards this at this current moment in time, and that we have a meeting with the councillors and the organisers to take it forward. But at this moment, I propose that we do not put any money into this at this current moment in time, on the grounds that the previous conditions were not met. Thank you.
I don't think meeting with councillors will help, will it? Because it's Leisure Service Trust, isn't it, that's running this. Who did I say was the next, Sarah?
Yeah.
And then
David just whispered in my ear something that I think is pertinent here. The Pendle cancelled the very successful, I think, because I used to go on it, walking festival for Pendle. And I don't know, we have mentioned this to you before, but Lidget and Beyond have done a cone boundary walk. We've done the brochure and everything, and now we're just finding the final locations for the information boards, the 5 information boards. So that's going to be launched soon, but it is walkable now, the Cone Boundary Walk. And obviously we'll be looking to Cone Town Council to host it on the website. Perhaps a thing, if we're thinking about getting people active in and around Cone, we've got some great walks in and around Cone. We pay our enhanced money for extra care, which we get value for money. Perhaps I'm not saying this year, but we could consider doing a Cone walking festival that could sort of culminate with the boundary walk, make it a big thing for families, and that would get people active, and they'd still be exploring all the beautiful walks of Cone.
And it wouldn't just be in 2 weeks of the year, they could do it
Whenever they want.
whenever they wanted. Yeah. Who was the next one? Who was put their hand up? Patricia, Andy?
Yeah, just been looking on just now. Burnley have done theirs during the school summer holidays. But the timing for the one that been suggested for Pendle, bearing in mind the cost that say we have to pay for these items, the boxes, whatever else, sounded at the meeting was we are getting brand new. Can't be used anywhere else, can't be anything else. So Burnley have had theirs, and the one that's being proposed for Pendle is in school time. So the only time it's going to be used, if possible, will be weekends. So for value for money is not there. So it's great saying during the summer holidays, where you've got 6 weeks to do it, and we're being put into, you're back at college or school or whatever, you ain't going to have the same, they're not going to get the same data. You're going to have a very skewed data. And I just can't understand what's going on, especially the price that we're asking for.
Patricia, you can have the last.
Thank you, Chair.
Last.
I agree with what Councillor Robinson has proposed, apart from, of course, the meeting of the. Because I don't think it's a. So if I make that amendment, but with your agreement, Councillor Robinson, that we forego the payments because the conditions have not been met, and I'll make that amendment, Chair.
Thank you. Are we all happy with that? We need to account. Have we got a seconder for that proposal?
I think Patricia was the second.
Patricia, the seconder, and Ian
Ian
proposed it.
Okay.
Can I see all those in favour, please?
Sorry, I thought the there's an amendment to say don't have the meeting.
Yeah, Chair, I will alter my proposal to say what I said with the exception of the meeting.
Right.
Pretend we never said that
That's
bit.
That's fine.
Okay, right. Well, that was carried anyway, yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. That was a good discussion, that. Thank you. Item 11 is public space protection order extension. Quite an extensive I've got two lots in if we take the public parks first, this is two, there's public parks and sports grounds. So do we
kick off? So obviously it's a big long list of all the things around the area. A couple of things on the public parks one.
Yes.
I think we should amend the typo on page 5. It's Ball Grove, not Ball Gove. On page 8, number 31, barbecues does not have an apostrophe, it's merely a plural.
This isn't ours to amend, though, is it?
I think we should tell them.
We should tell them.
Yeah,
We should
totally.
tell them they've got it wrong. Yes, and they're wrong. And on the sports grounds, I think everything was okay on that one, except for we've got one sports ground missing. There's only one in Cone here, the whole house one. But what about the grammar school playing fields?
Yeah.
Should they have a PSPO on them?
Definitely. And they're used very heavily, the grammar school playing fields. And it makes me wonder whether we should try to, building on what Ian was saying, should we try to say, actually, King George V should be in that document on playing fields?
It's down as a park. Isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Whole thing down as a park.
if you ask Pendle Council, they say it's not a park, it's a miscellaneous green space. It has a nebulous position. So.
And the only other point was on in the covering note of Tim Horsley. I think Sarah put forward this idea of the Byron Road site, which was the playing field used by Park Primary next to Theo. But they've now put a massive great fence around it properly because they were concerned about children running away.
So perhaps we could just have a CA section.
So we may not need it. So it may just be that we have the CA section instead.
But we need a map.
But we need a map drawing for that.
So what are we saying? What are we saying? Come on.
So to summarise, that they should include, they should address the typos. They should include the grammar school playing fields, which are used all the time.
And sports.
As sports, because they are. Yeah. They should add and create a map for the half-acre round SEAG for dogs, because we don't want, actually, our signs are working. We're not actually getting dog poo anymore, but, even so. And are we leaving?
You mentioned King George.
Are we leaving King George as where it is, or are we trying to push for it to be a playing field?
It's a playing field, yeah.
Okay.
It's a sports field.
Well, so perhaps we should say that it's in the wrong.
Well, but if you look at the way it's drawn, it's the whole of King George V, isn't it? So it includes our play area, it includes the old bit by the road where the rose bed were, etc. It's almost like it's in both. Yeah, or you have a dividing line down the middle where the bank starts to go up.
You ask that question, can't we? Yeah. Andy and Ian,
If this goes ahead where these are all happy days, are they actually going to enforce them? Because the amount of times you go Alkin Courts, wherever else you got people with dogs, they ain't on leads. Even if you go to Holt House, you go down Alkin Courts, people on wherever you see them throwing sticks, they're not on leads, and according to this, they're supposed to be. So are
on
they
the
being
road-
enforced
road
or not?
bit, I think they're supposed to be on and by the children's playing field, but I think the others, they can be off the leash, can't they? Yeah.
What I'm reading on here is all dogs on leads of no more than 2 meters in length.
That's for the area that's round the car park.
That's on the first part, but when you get to the playing field area, it's on there as well.
That's Holt out there.
Don't know.
It says Vivery Bridge, Holt House playing fields, including Corner Football Club, Rugby Club, Harrison Drive, Cole, Alkin Courts Park and Nature Reserve. So if they're putting a
I think
prohibition
you
on
need
it,
to
it
refer
needs-
to the map where it shows it from other.
Yeah, what about reading on here?
Yeah, I've got 3 people dogs there. David Clamp,
The point that's being made about enforcement, those of us that are on Alkin Court Working Group witnessed the travellers arriving. And and we were quite clearly told by the police they could do nothing about it. But I can find 3 things in here that have got these orders on that we could have taken them off on because they didn't do the job. The first one was the cutting of the pole. There was a witness there that said they saw him do it, but the police said that wasn't sufficient and wouldn't do anything about it. It also says it's an offence to drive a caravan onto that piece of land, which we all watched them do. You know, they're no good if the police won't enforce them, because we would have spent money in getting them off there.
Oh, we did.
When technically, these according to this, these should have been satisfactory to remove them. And it's the same at Bullgrove and the
Did
same
the
at
same.
other places.
Mm.
If you're going to stick to these and we can enforce them, then fair enough. But otherwise, you know,
that's the police
we're
responsible
struggling.
for not enforcing them, isn't it? No, police. Dorothy.
Andy and I have witnessed up at Holt House when we've been up there for the Veterans Breakfast Club, where people just drive into the car park, open the back of the car, 3 or 4 dogs jump out, they shoot off. We see that many times, don't we? This is reminding me of the firework thing. I know it's not connected, Howard. I don't want to go off on a tangent. He's not listening. And I've been told this week, if you can't give a name and an actual place, nothing will be done. You know, so like the fireworks, you can see them in the sky, but you can't see where they're coming from. And I suppose it's the same with the dog situation. You don't know who it is. You might just know the breed of the dog, and that's the only information you're giving to the police. So, you know, sometimes it's a bit of a non-starter, isn't it? How do they police all this? I don't know.
Did I take your question, Ian? No?
Yeah. One of the issues with these is the size of the signs. Now, Alkin Courts, yes, you can have your dogs off the lead in the park. And that is not disputable. It's in here. But if you let your dog out the car on the road right next to, literally 10 seconds from, you can be done. And I know somebody was. And when he questioned the enforcement officer, he said the attitude was really bad. It was like, there are visible signs everywhere. You have been warned. And he went, what signs? and they pointed to one. It was literally a small sign that you need to go right up to look at. And he said, well, and they said, no, as far as we're concerned, you are guilty, you will pay a fine, even though it's only 5 seconds onto the park. And that does need to be addressed. Those signs need to be clearly visible. Otherwise, it's just becoming a cash cow for these enforcement officers who are looking for ways of making money.
Well, who is it? Pendle Council that enforce them? Enforce it?
I think
The officers.
I think it is.
They don't have
employ,
a private anymore. do
they employ the enforcement officers,
Yeah. Okay.
but I don't think there's any. Don't think there's any contract in place, isn't it?
No. Okay. So, have we got what? What's the last one?
Oh, well,
Well, comments. We've got the comments of the places where we think, you know, that are
Just-
that are missing, etc. In the questions to
the
us.
point on we made this point about the size of the signs.
last time, yeah, we
Um,
did.
When was it? 2022? Because I'm going to say they're A4. I don't think they might not even be that, because the plaque itself's probably A4, and then they're inside it. So perhaps we can make the point again that when they update the signs, and they make them just a little larger.
Bigger. Yeah, it's a good idea. Right, item 12 is Treasure Our Town.
I was actually on holiday
What was that?
when this was. So if anyone wants to speak about it.
Yeah, it was awful. It allowed me to get in contact with Pendle Council about the car parks again, and they promise that they've had a complete deep clean of all the shrubberies of all the car parks in Cone prior to the Blues, so it looks good for the Blues. There were quite a lot of blocked grates. There was a wonky street light. There was a mossy path that we did solve before 8:30 the next day. And we just reported all of that, as well as quite a lot of rubbish. But it was actually really depressing how much on-street litter there was.
Right. Howard and then Dorothy.
Yeah, the last one that we were able to attend was at the end of Haverholt Road, and it was all cleared out, and then the next day or the next we did it on the Wednesday, and by the weekend some kind oddie delivery, but be careful who I say he was delivering things for. They were commercial, you know, the little fill this sack with your stuff, and it's all for some bogus charity probably. They carefully left, chuck the bag over with it. But a point I want to make about Treasure in Our Town is the amount of fly posting that the fair have done. They have. I don't object to the signs that are. There's one on the corner as you go down Craddock Road, and that's on the railings. But beyond that, on the two empty shops there, the new one that's been done up and the one on the Tower Buildings, there was one on our shop next door here, which Nathan assured me was about to remove, so I assume it's removed. On Peter Birtwistle House, on the empty unit there, this two, it's just littered the place with it, and anybody that it just annoys me that they think it's that they have to do, whereas the sign at the end of Craddock Road, and there's another one somewhere about, are perfectly adequate. And my suggestion would be that for the next Blues Festival, we seriously, if he doesn't do something about removing some of the ones and removing the legitimate ones after the event, like the one on Braddock Road, he runs the risk of being like, no, that's not the right, for whatever that we don't consider him amongst the things unless he can give us assurances that he's not, that he clears this lot up and does it at PDQ, as they say.
Thank you, Dorothy.
I agree with Howard, and I mean, I've just come up Chapel Street, and there's one at the side of Bargain Booze there. And I think what we should be doing is, look, you know, we welcome the fair, but there's to be no fly posting. And I've said before, we used to have a town centre warden who just wouldn't tolerate it at all. So, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable for us, or Pendle Council, or whoever, say, yes, you know, come to Colne, we welcome you. It's a great asset for everybody. Well, not for me, I won't go on it. But don't fly post, just don't do it. You know, I think we should be a town that rebels against this, the fly posting. We do it with fly tipping, we do it with litter, we do it with everything, but we don't stamp down on the fly posting, and we should do.
Well, this year it's gone too far. It's in every empty shop. It's in every place you can sit. Yeah. Yes.
Just a quick one. I'm pretty sure it's actually an offence to plaster. Was it fly tip? Not fly tip, but fly posting. I'm pretty sure it was actually classed as an offence a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you've got the same details on for the same group, you can take it back to the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll claim he gave it to somebody and didn't know anything about it.
If you do fly tipping, when they go through and they find out whose it was, they don't go to who's dumped it. They take it to the actual owner of the envelopes or letters that it's addressed to.
Councillor Mann. Thank you, Andrew.
I can't understand really why they do this. If they go into the shops, most shops will be quite happy to put a poster up for them. So that's the way to do it. Thank you.
Okay. So are we going to do anything about this fly tipping? Are we going to sort of say fly posting and saying, look, we don't have it? You either have to ask the shops, go in personally, not just stick them on every shop and every empty building you can find.
If they do that, they'll take it down.
Okay. Are we happy with that? So have we got a proposal to that effect? Yes, that we don't want fly tipping and fly posting, and if they stop,
I think we should send a message to them that we are very disappointed that they thought it necessary to do it. I mean, it's, you know, there's two or three next one shot once.
Just one amendment is, like it was being mentioned, that we do let them know that when they pack up, they take them all with them.
Yeah.
They don't just leave them behind.
Yeah.
Because it does become a blight. And I've seen it before now where you've had a road closure and it's still there 3 months later. It needs to be taken down.
Yeah. Dorothy, did you
mention when Sarah mentioned about the car park, the Red Lion car park many years ago when we started Colne in Bloom? That was one of the first jobs we did, and we filled all that back with shrubs and colourful flowers, and we also did the stone planter. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. yeah. I don't know what it's like now. I looked at it a few weeks back and pulled some weeds out. But yeah, I might tackle that myself.
Ian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Have we got a proposal for this? If not, I'm going to propose that the organisers of the fair or management of fair be informed that all unauthorised posters be removed forthwith, and that all authorised posters be removed immediately at the end of the event. So I'll propose that as a proposal.
Can I just ask, who is the person that's going to authorise it? When you say no authorised, you know, we've got to get this right.
Yeah,
haven't we?
simple, because it's a differentiation between fly tipping and, so if they say to a shop or somebody, can I put this poster up? That is authorised, an authorised poster.
Okay.
If they
right.
just put them up willy-nilly, that is unauthorised.
Well,
That differentiation on
this
the
is
law.
this is what I'm asking. Who will authorise? Who
The individual, the individual
No, not
shops.
the shops on the outside.
On the outside,
Are they going to come and
council,
ask us?
could be
or-
town council, if it's a bollard or or whatever. So it could be town council, or it could be Pendle Council, or it could be county, but they still need authorisation of somebody to put a
Well,
poster
you,
up.
you need that authorisation in place before you can say.
Well, it is in place. I'm sure you'll know about this on the
No.
planning, on advertising consent, etc. And that, because it's happened in the past where people have put up posters for events they've sorted out and been told to remove them or else by Pendle. And that's happened a few times.
I don't think they do.
They
It's
have done.
only when we had a town centre warden employed by Pendle Council that he was allowed to do that. I don't know anywhere else. We can't do it, and I don't even know whether the borough do it.
I think it comes under the Clean Neighbourhoods and Environment Act.
All right.
Right. Councillor Butterworth.
Nearly forgot. The Congola, when we put signs up, it's the fair that's up there that organise the signs. And they, Borough Council, give them a map and saying that lamppost, and this is the problem. So they put a poster, 2 posters on 2 different lampposts, and we got fined £17.95 for each poster to be taken down, just ripped off. So there is somewhere that can authorise it, and they do maps and all sorts of things. But it is part of the borough council.
You can second it then.
Yeah, I'll second the motion. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favour, say we do. We're voting for that, they have to, if they don't put them up on places where they've got permission, then they have to take them down. And no. Borough, yeah, yeah.
So if you leave it with me one day, I'll get in touch with Mick, and he'll give you exact authorisation who they're from. I'll ring him tonight and get it sorted out.
Consent comes from Lancashire County Council. So it's Simon Bucknell who you'd speak to.
Yeah. But he doesn't give them permission to put them anywhere and everywhere, does he? No. Yeah. So are we voting that? No. But we can express our opinion that we don't want. We don't want. We can express our disappointment that.
Like I said before, we say but no fly posting. We can say that.
Yeah.
They do not want to take off, so they can't take off. So if we send that message to start with,
Yes.
to go on any fly posting, oh,
Yeah.
you know, unless you've got authorization, like say, on one like that, we don't want to everywhere. What we're on about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that
Is that what you're proposing then?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that say to the fair, will you turn up? Now, what I'm saying is, if they don't do this, we can turn around and go, well, you fly, you know, you're creating a nuisance in our town by fly posting. Therefore, this year we're going to find somebody else to put the fair on. And it's that kind of sort of letting them know that they're not going to get away with it. That's why I put in that proposal.
So we're just saying that Combe Council do not want flag posting. Flag posting. And
I just think if we speak nice and polite to, I don't want to mention the names, but if you speak to them and say, look, if you don't put them where you should have put them, then we don't want you anymore.
I'll take them down after.
And take them down afterwards. I'm sure that'll get him up to just take them. He's a reasonable man, and he just give it to a young lad and he sticks them everywhere. But if he gets told not to, he won't do. He's a lovely chap. Yeah, lovely
but
chap.
it's not just fairs, is it, that do it? Other people.
No, but we're just do one at a time. You can't put this into a big aspect of all horses. But we can just stop the fair overnight. Just give him a ring, talk to him, and he'll sort it out.
So are you going to do that? Do we want him to do that? Yeah, if that gets them down.
I can.
I'll send him an email in the morning.
Right. Okay. Are we happy with that? And that's what we're going to. That's what's been proposed, and that's what we're going to. Are we voting for that? That we're telling them to go and take the ones down that they haven't got permission for. Yeah. With a firm hand. Yes, they are. Right. Anything else on? Now we go on to the Great British Rhythm and Blues Festival. Thank you.
So, as you'll be aware, the festival is quickly approaching. It's this weekend. So everything's in place. Town Hall's been turned into a box office and a fringe venue, first aid point, and volunteer headquarters as well. We've got work taking place over the next couple of days to get all the infrastructure in, so toilets, fencing, lighting, sound, road closures. Everything's going to be happening this week. In regards to ticket sales, we sold 682 tickets and 195 camping pictures. And we've sold more than that because my emails have been going off since we've been up here. But online ticket sales close tomorrow at 6:45. And then we'll be doing last minute ticket sales over the phone as well, just to get those last couple of ticket sales in. Town Hall will be open over the weekend, like I say, as a box office as well as a fringe venue. And the festival will be here this weekend, so come along and enjoy it.
Will do. Anybody, any questions? Ian?
Thank you, Chair. On the road closures, I was talking to one of the retailers in Ivy's Arcade up in centre, and they want to know is, could the retailers actually have details of times and areas that have been closed on the roads? Because as she said, she doesn't want to run the risk of turning up early one morning, putting car in the car park, at the end of the day, realise she's trapped in the car park because she can't exit. They need details because apparently nobody's told them of the timings or what streets are actually going to be closed off. And that's caused a bit of concern.
Yeah, we have sent out notices of road closures with maps and timings to all the businesses, and we can resend them, put stuff out on social media in the bid business group, and just spread the word about the road closures. So we'll get in touch.
Okay. Howard, did you have a question? Howard, did you have a question on this? No. Okay. All right. Okay. The next item is Colne Neighbourhood Plan.
So we don't have a meeting date for the next neighbourhood plan meeting because, of course, we were waiting for the update the consultation update of the new NPPF. And David and I have been through the new NPPF, and it's very interesting what they've taken out and what new words they've put in. It's very interesting. But prior to the election, Labour had said that they would not allow neighbourhood plans to allocate sites. In this pre-consultation version, there's no change at all to neighbourhood plans. So that is in fact excellent news. Of course, we now as a borough potentially have a truly eye-watering housing target of 382 houses. What's interesting though, if you read the small print, it says that for boroughs who are at an advanced stage of plan making, then to get those local plans through, they will accept 200 less. However, David went to a meeting last week and the Pendle planning officers say that because the neighbourhood plan is written in such a way that emphasises green elements with our nature reserves and various other things, not building on green spaces, that the evidence base, which is the thing that's examined by the planning inspector, does not support a figure that's higher than 148. So we're in a truly invidious position whereby the whole plan has been written, the standard methodology for this area is 126 now, or the previous standard methodology. If you actually look at how they calculate it now, the way our housing number has gone up is they have detached economic performance from the calculation. So that's how Leeds, Manchester, London, their housing targets have gone down and peripheral areas have gone up. There are towns that are in a worse position than us. Burnley had a standard methodology of 56.
Their local plan is 51.
51, and they are now approaching 400 they've got to find, and their plan is made. So they have to completely undo their plan and start again. So Pendle council officers say that they are at an advanced stage at 148, which is not 182, which would be allowed, and they're going to, I don't think the phrase is wing it, but they're going to continue and we'll see what happens. So I tried very, very hard to have a detailed debrief with Michael Wellock, who firmly rebuffed me and said he was on holiday and appears to be on a very long holiday. So it's very clear that we need to have this big understanding before we have the next meeting. And I've said to Gina, I'm looking at you, Alice, but not in a cross way, just to say that we covered a lot of ground in our first meeting, and it's imperative that people who missed the first meeting watch the video of the first meeting, so we're not going over it again. We hope to have the second meeting with the full analysis from Michael Wellock's perspective. I have my views, Pendle has its views. It'd be interesting to have his views on the national planning policy framework that's proposed. The deadline for comments on it is the 28th of September, 24th of September. He remembers that because it's his actual birthday. 24th of September. So I do feel that we need to be putting our views across as a neighbourhood planning group. And I feel at the moment that that's probably something that I could do, certainly once I've spoken to Michael Wellock, because it's quite obvious which bits of the new NPPF are not good for this area. So we hope to convene a meeting once Michael Wellock has done that analysis and we've had that sort of like initial paper discussion. In the background, you all know about the Cone Master Plan. I have been speaking to people and setting up meetings, and they're going on into September for the sites identified in the Cone Master Plan, because obviously this next plan goes all the way to 2040. and we need to be cracking on with it. So we need to be doing some things in parallel. So I've started that work. It's interesting that Pendle themselves are not doing another call for sites. They're doing this level of proactive work that we did anyway in Cone. So I don't think the fact that they're not doing a call for sites, to me, suggests that for our update, we don't need to do a call for sites either. So that will save us some time. Any questions? Oh, that's very kind. Okay, everybody. Oh,
So can you
Let me,
report?
let me just add a bit more to this.
Oh, I failed.
So no, in terms of timings of things, so we talk about our neighbourhood plan having a next meeting sometime in the next month or two. Michael Worth's got some work to do to go through, you know, where we can improve, etc. So obviously Sarah's looking at trying to identify other housing sites for us to consider. What Pendle's got, the plan with 148 in, if you do all the maths to go to 2040, then you end up with a target there. Pendle already has chosen sites, most of which have got planning permission, plus there's a steady stream of windfall sites which are now allowed to put in. So these are all the sort of small sites, you know, 2s, 3s, 5s, 10s maybe, that you can identify that come through steadily all the time. You're allowed to do 40 a year on that. So Pendle's done all its maths and it comes up with just over 3,000 houses over that period to 2040, which equates to 162 per year, more than the 148 that the local plan is drafted on. So that's a nice contingency element in that. So again, provided the 148 goes the course, the plan is that it's going to go to the exec in September. The exec will look at the local plan and say, yes, 148, with all its supporting documents. That will then go to full council at Pendle on the 26th of September. If it's approved at that, at 148, then it will go to public consultation. So all the members of the public and all the organisations, etc., can comment. There's a 6-week consultation period there, October into November, etc. Gather all the comments back in, don't change the plan at all, and submit the plan plus the responses.
They're not allowed to change the plan.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So you submit the plan as is, 148, and then you submit all the responses. The developers industry will say it should be 3 million houses a year or something, and then we'll all say it should be 3. But essentially you end up with a bundle of documents which goes to the examiner. The examiner would then be penciled in sometime around about March, April, May time next year. And they would look at that, and then depending on how many other places are in exactly the same boat as us, with gigantic targets that have been set as part of the new NPPF, then it depends on how that's developing as to whether inspectors just go, no, forget it, not a chance, chuck the whole lot out, start again, your target's 382, in which case greenfields will be built on all over the place. Or they might think, well, do you know what? Developing to that sort of extent in a borough like this is environmentally unsustainable. We've got SSSIs, we've got an AONB nearby, we've got lots of nature reserves, we've got lots of good green belt, etc., which is justifiable to have. And if we can make a case, which is what they're going to try and do, that it's environmentally unsustainable to build more, then our 148 may get through. So it's a bit of a risk. It's a bet. So that's the timing of the next few things.
David's on a different committee from me, which is why he's got all this detail. But just want to remind you about something else. You remember the 5-year housing land supply with the 20% buffer, which is the stick to beat you with, because that's when you get the papers as a councillor that say there was a positive tilt and you must approve. So even if it's, I don't know, it's somewhere just truly awful, say, and you totally disagree with it for a load of reasons, if there's a positive tilt applied, you basically have to approve it. We are fortunate here because that positive tilt is applied when there isn't a 5-year housing land supply, which Pendle would be very much in danger of having with that very large target. Because we have a made neighbourhood plan, it doesn't apply in Cone. You only have to demonstrate a 3-year housing land supply. So it's much less likely that the positive tilt will be applied in Cone. It will be applied elsewhere in Pendle. That's a small little thing to be glad about.
you know. The only thing it does do is that it shows the value of having a neighbourhood plan. Nowhere else in Pendle has
Apart from Taunton.
well, apart from Jordan, has a site allocating neighbourhood plan. So we've got some protection that we've chosen our sites, or we're going to be choosing some more as well. Pendle don't need them for their target, but it's good for us to have them so that if we get some developers who can develop the sites that we want them to develop, then that's good for our town.
Thank you. Yeah. Wow, such a lot of information there. Yes, Ian?
Thank you, Chair. One thing that I'm really sort of pleased with the neighbourhood development plan, called neighbourhood development plan, is that there is always a danger and a temptation to focus solely on housing and how to make sure that the developers make as much profit as inhumanly possible. And I'm really proud of the fact that Colne has not taken that approach, but is looking at putting together a holistic and integrated approach to sustainable community development on many different levels and layers. And I think that should lead the way forward for the rest of Pendle. We've set the trend where it's not looking at the needs of the developers, which is what the planning officers do. And it's what a lot of councillors in Pendle have done over the years. We must make them rich. Whereas Torda said has gone, no, we're not going to stand up for this. We're a militant bunch. We stop the motorway. We're going to stop the developers. And this is a really good step forward. So thank you very much. It's brilliant.
Well, just to dampen Ian's enthusiasm, viability is still core in the new NPPF. Interestingly, if you remember, developers had demonstrably to make a 20% profit on any site. And if you remember, we had some sites that were taken out of our neighbourhood plan because the examiner felt that we couldn't demonstrably say that the developer was going to make a 20% profit. Well, this NPPF says substantial, appropriate. So actually, it's not as prescriptive. So it's quite possible that some of those sites that failed last time might be able to go back in as appropriate for an area, appropriate for starter homes or whatever. And we're also looking into, last time, we weren't allowed to include building conversions. And it's looking like we would be allowed to include building conversions. And that would help us too. So we're just looking within the system to do our very best, but we've already got some protection.
Great, good, thank you. Okay, can we move on to planning? Well, there we are. The first one is 24/0481/FUL. It's at West Lynn, Barrowford Road, Colne. It's erection of a single-storey granny annex for ancillary use to the main dwelling. Yes, Howard?
Sorry, I was just waiting for, well, number one, the materials are a waste of, they're not in keeping with the rest of the houses round and about. Yes, it's an annex, but it's, I was going to say miles, it isn't miles, but it's about as far away from the existing dwelling at West Lynn as you could get. So I think that is inappropriate. And I'm trying to remember on the, I think there's no kitchen or anything like that in it, because they say that the residents, that the occupants of this dwelling or annex will trot up to, it's a bit like trotting up to the big house for their meals and laundry and all the rest of it. I just don't think it's appropriate for the site that it's in, because all the other houses down there, right from, I can't remember the name of the first one that was the children's home, are all with large gardens. This in the not too distant past was used as a hotel. I just, well, for those reasons alone, I think we should object to it.
Sarah?
I have called it in. It's partially in Greenbelt, which I think is a point. It's adjacent to one of our non-designated heritage assets. It clearly isn't designed for the site in terms of vernacular architecture for Colne, though we admit it's not a conservation area. And the materials, I agree with Howard, they're not appropriate in this location. Interestingly, West Lynn has an annex already.
Yeah.
It has an annex already. So this is Annex 2. I don't think there's a law against Annex 2. But yeah, let's see what happens. Obviously, see what the other councillors say, but I have called it in.
Thank you. The next one is... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yes.
Just one other point, you can just see it in the corner under the banner there. It's one of these prefabricated, it's like a site office type thing. Yeah. Well,
a big ship. Yeah. It's not an annex, really.
Their annex is obviously connected, but it's built in the brick like the that's the proper annex.
But it's not even attached.
Yeah. Separate building.
It's had an annex because I know the person who lived in there before, and the mother lived, because they moved from Leach House down to there, didn't they?
Chair, it does say that this extension has already been granted, and we're just making comments before tomorrow.
Extension for planning. It's planning. Right, extension.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do other councillors think? Or we object to those? That's what we want to comment about with all the things that we've said. Yeah. Can I put that to the vote then? All those who want to object because it's not in keeping with the, yeah. Okay, thank you. The second one is 24/0488/HHO. Extension granted, comments to be sent to Pennyborough Council by the 21st of the 8th, it said. 20 Judge Fields Colne, it's an extension of a single story rear extension. So it's a rear thing. Any issues with that?
Memory serves me, I think this has been slightly amended from an earlier one.
Well, is it all right now?
I can't remember the.
Are we saying no comment then?
Well, it's difficult to know. Well, the materials there are a bit of a hodgepodge of render and not render, and because over the years it's been, things have changed on it.
Are we saying no comment then? No, all right. The next one is 24/0317/HHO. It's one Caster Cliff Bank Colne. Erection of wall to front of property and levelling of garden. Oh, hope it's not that colour. Oh, is it already there? All right. So shall we go on to the next one then?
I think with this one, I've called this one in actually because it's sort of the only one in the street that's got a wall, especially of this size, which is too high because the garden slopes as well. There is a house a couple of doors down that has a much smaller wall, sort of, less than a metre type thing. So it's one of those things that if you look as well, cars park on the pavements all the time, you're going to really make it congested, you're going to impair the sight lines because it's on a corner plot as well. So there's a few issues with it, which I've asked them to consider and called it.
1.3 at the highest.
Apparently the top's missing as well. There's no coping stones on it. It's sort of half built wall, it's 1.3.
But do we want to say something?
You allowed a metre, but this is 1.3 without coping stones
Right.
at the highest.
So we think it's.
We don't say we think it's too high.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
We could ask them possibly to make the height of the double wall on the top of the
Yeah.
It's a hat, that's a problem, yeah. The next one is 24/505/HHO, 18 Keithley Road, Colne. Conversion and alteration of existing outbuilding to form ancillary accommodation, driveway and access. Which is this one? I couldn't.
This is the one that was really beautiful that's now coming off our list of non-designated heritage assets.
Oh.
They've taken the Georgian railings out in the last couple of weeks. They've slowly, and this is the thing, it wasn't a conservation area. There's nothing that could have been done. They're allowed to do it. It's all permitted development rights. But now all the historic interest, the joiner is, it's so
Is it
sad.
the top of Harry Lane?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, it's really sad.
Oh dear. All right. No. We can't do anything, can we?
We could say we're disappointed of the treatment of a non-designated heritage asset.
Yeah.
The lack of respect for it.
Not respected. Next one is 24/0498/CEU, Sunnybreak Cotton Tree Lane, Colne. Direction of an orangery to
This
the
is
rear
one,
of
this is
existing.
one we've already seen it before, and it's already been built. And obviously you've got to have certain measurements. So when it actually first was looked at by one of the officers, it actually failed the test because it was deemed to be too large. For the extension out of the back of the house. Now they've resubmitted it, so this is a new plan. It's not changed, but they've just rechecked the measurements. So the officer is now assessing the measurements to see whether it complies with the rights to have a tick in the box.
Right.
So
He
all we
would
can have
like
to say
to,
is
have an orangery. Yeah. Right, the next one is 24/0513/HHO, 17 Manor Road, Colne. Which side is that on? Is it the top side or bottom side?
Bottom side.
Bottom side. Are there any issues with that? No? No comment then? Nobody has anything to say. The next one's 24/0523 and it's the TPO. Right.
Which one? The TPO.
Okay. Yeah. There's an extra one on, and that's at Horsefield, Keighley Road, Colne. That's the same. Remove tree, subject to TPO. That's the one next to the Grange, isn't it? The Horsefield, that's the house name there. Yes, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Once these trees have been removed, are they going to be replaced? Because I think that's important. It's okay saying that we need to murder trees, but we need to replace them as well because they are a valuable asset and important for the health and well-being of the community. Yes, and the planet. And we need to do that because it's okay saying giving pine permission. Oh yeah, we don't need trees, just take them out, murder them. But they need to be replaced, and I think we need to keep an eye on that to make sure that is being done.
Thank you. Sarah?
We're not allowed to do it. And we're not allowed to do it even in conservation areas. You can only ask for trees to be replaced when they've got a TPO on them. Perhaps this is something that we could look at in the neighbourhood plan, because it is definitely, this came up for me when somebody was cutting down a lot of trees in Winewall. And it's a conservation area. I innocently said, and are they being replaced? And they said, oh no, you can't replace them. Even a conservation area, there's no sort of reason for them to be replaced. So it's definitely, to me, an anomaly. It's something that needs to be addressed.
It's a TPO on it, so there'll be asset.
Right, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, then it will be.
It will be replaced.
Yeah. And most of them are dead already rather than being murdered.
Right.
Like a Monty Black carrot sketch on the way, Just rest.
Yes, Andrew?
Yeah, I did put my hand up to say I had something else. The question, I have actually got a question to raise. Has anything gone through Zemenhall for a change of use for what used to be berries at the top of Windy Bank, the courtyard? They're now selling tyres. And I'm just wondering if anything's actually gone through.
Sarah, do you know that?
I do. There's no request for a change of use. There is Pendleton Borough Council enforcement on that business.
Because it was supposed to be accommodation, wasn't it? Yeah, not tyre selling business. Anything else on planning? No. We haven't had any correspondence that we've received. Items for a future month's agenda. Anybody got any? Yes, Alice.
I just wonder.
Projects?
I just wonder if we can discuss the location of the bids when they are full of bids. When bids, yes, sorry. When they are fully charged. I have had a comment that they would like one on Greenfield Road.
Right, yeah. Bring that back. Any other items?
With that, if Jean has had time, we can have the data off the data that we've got now.
Off the
spit.
It's been doing, yeah. No, yeah. Okay. Data. Anything else? No.
Yeah, but one other thing with space is it down, we're running off our is it down, we now sort of have some sort of review, say, well, most of the graphics that we put on the river places, or on the small places where we should be having graphics. I don't know, and I'm not saying that I don't have any specific problems, but between us, we might have one or two places where maybe there should be one on.
Well, that'll be up to councillors to bring their attention to where they think you should do it. Yes.
Members, if they've got a place where they think one should be put back and discuss.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Sounds like it's time for a very big map. Little crosses where they all are. All around, we can identify the gaps there.
Yeah, it'll here.
That's your big, isn't it?
We like a big map.
Another big map.
We've got a lot of some are already, they're not necessarily all in the right places, are they?
Yeah.
And we obviously, to be fair, we'd have to ask the parish councils as well.
Yeah, Dorothy.
I just wanted to make a comment about the length and just thank them for the watering, the corneas, the planters, spots or patios.
Yeah.
So, on the way to the table.
Yes, it will.
Some starting to grow.
Mm.
At this time.
Yeah, well, I think they started late, didn't they?
But yeah, it's so I like on record to thank. the
Yeah,
lads.
can we pass that on to them? Yeah, lovely. Date and time of next regular meeting is the 17th of September at 7 o'clock. So thank you.